Hey everybody, welcome back. It's week 2, and we're going to take a look at what's happening this week. Excuse me, I have managed to catch a cold, so I am going to sound like a frog, but hopefully you will bear with me. We are working on the experience and interest inventory this week, which will help you solidify topics of interest for all of our upcoming assignments. One of the reasons I enjoy teaching ENC 2210 so much is that you get to focus on things that you want to focus on, whether it be something that you plan on studying as you proceed through your education, whether it be something you plan on doing for work, or whether it be something that you're just interested in. So one of the things that we're going to start out with here is the experience and interest inventory, which will help you not only when it comes time to do things like resumes and cover letters, but also when you're picking topics for our technical documents, the professional writing stuff, all that stuff, you can base on things that you are interested in. So let me go ahead and open the course. Got a couple of things that I'll end up sharing with you today, because we will look at Microsoft Word as well, because this will be the first official assignment that you'll turn in Word. So, but let me start with the course. As we look at the first page, of course, the home page has the schedule. So just a note, of course, obviously the college is closed on Monday the 15th. Doesn't really affect us in any way. I mean, our weeks do start on Monday, but you can wait till Tuesday if you'd like. But we are going to be looking at report writing and reviewing APA documentation as well. Hopefully you have encountered APA formatting and documentation previously. I know that most of the ENC 1101 classes in recent memory at Lake Sumter have done both MLA and APA, but there's a lot of help if you are not familiar with it. So most of the things that we're focusing on in the um, to-do list this week are in the module. We do have a reading from the textbook, just a fairly short one, page 10 to 19. And then your item that's due, of course, is the experience and interest inventory. So let's go to the module and we'll take a look at the overview and learning materials for the week. As I mentioned, you do have a reading assignment in the textbook. That is almost always the first thing on our list now that we're past the getting started stuff from last week. We have a small lesson from me, so I'm not going to show you as much tonight as I do sometimes about the assignment. I do have a small lesson on APA document and Word. So you can take a look at that on your own, but I will show you just kind of the basics. If you do not have Word on your computer, you do have free access to it. There is the Office 365 link over here on the left-hand side. So if you have not already set that up, please make sure that you do. Your assignments do have to be submitted as Word documents. I do want them as a Word document, not as a PDF. I typically don't do markup, but many of your instructors do, and it has to be in Microsoft Word format or your instructors are not able to do that. So please make sure that you've got everything set up, and this will be a good week to test it out. There is a link to using the Lake Sumter Library and APA, and I will just quickly show you. This is a video that I have done. So it's me. It's not just a random video. So take a look at that. There is another lesson on documentation. Again, this is my video. I did not make this for Lake Sumter, but it is about APA documentation. So that one will help you as well. For help with APA documentation, you are going to want to refer to the Lake Sumter Library's Citation Center page. Now I would bookmark this if you haven't already bookmarked it. This is something that you'll need to come back to again and again and again. There are handouts, including a sample paper. You want to use this first one, the APA student sample paper template. That will help you get everything set up properly. I'm going to show you how to do it, but it'll be easier, and you'll have fewer issues. But there's all kinds of things there to help you with APA format and documenting your sources. That's what this citation guide is. There is also a whole page about APA format and documentation and things. So please take some time this week to look at all of the APA materials that are available in the Citation Center. And then, of course, you'll make sure that you've watched this video. If you are watching it, you already have. But anyway, so then it'll be time for the assignments. So let's go over the experience and interest inventory. It's a 50-point assignment, and it is going to be in APA format. So it will have a cover page. The body, the material itself will start on page 2, and it will then have a reference list showing any sources for photos, visuals, or other information. This is not a researched thing as much as it is practicing how to put together a report. But as part of that, you are going to be looking at some things online. So you are going to need to cite those, and especially any visuals that you use. So feel free to make this report visually interesting using headings, subheadings, and visuals. So for that reason, it is okay if you're writing longer paragraphs about anything that you use single spacing for that. So even though APA is all double spaced all the time, this report style is part of where that kind of veers off, because you want it to look, I don't know how to put it. I don't want it, good is not really the right term, but you want it to look appropriate. I think that's a better word for it. And if you look, this page itself is a good example of that. If this information that's in bulleted form was double spaced, it would take up a million miles of real estate online, and you'd have to scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. So when you are setting things up in this type of format, which you will be a lot in this class, you typically want to use some single spacing. So we'll look at that as we go through. So what are you going to cover? First, you're going to talk about the past. I want you to include your educational history, and this should be all of your even high school education. Now, you will not be putting your high school education on your resume when we get to that point, but you do want to record everything here, because this is kind of like a little, I don't know, a little biography that you can go back to. So put as much detail as will help you. If you were involved in certain things in high school, like maybe you were in the band or the orchestra, or maybe you were in student government, or you were the president of the student body, whatever, you can include all of that information in this document. This will then help you when you do go to write a resume and cover letter to pull your skills. So educational history and work history. Now, some of you will not have had any paid work history. That's certainly okay. Obviously, you know, you can't make up stuff you don't have. But if you don't have any work history, write that out. Like put work history and then, you know, explain that you've not had paid positions. Now, if you have not had any paid jobs, then it is even more important that you really flesh out the educational history with things that showcase what we call soft skills. So even if you weren't paid to do it, if you were involved in running a club or organization or planning for an event, those things do add up. And those are skills that can be used in any work environment. So make sure that you capture that either with the educational history or include a section about volunteer or non-paid positions. Those don't have to be volunteer in the sense of I went down to the animal shelter and volunteered by cleaning out cages. It could be things that you did with your church. It could be things you did with sports teams. Lots of things there. The main thing is that you are wanting to capture the things that you have done and how they showcase your skills and personal qualities. Okay. Present, part 2. Educational present, obviously, is going to be Lake Sumter. Now, some of you are also dual enrolled. So I would put my high school in my past. You're going to record the dates, so it'll be clear that you're not done yet. But I would go ahead and put high school in the past, because soon it will be, even if you are still dual enrolled at this moment. And you're, like I said, you're not going to use the actual high school dates for your resume. You will use the things that you're doing at Lake Sumter. So again, you're not going to necessarily write all this out on a resume, but I want you to record everything that you can think of. What courses have you taken? When did you start? What is your area of emphasis? Have you chosen an area of emphasis? Are you working on an associate's? Are you working on a bachelor's? Are you working on a certificate program? You can include your GPA, you don't have to, but I would include everything. Any campus organizations, for example, that you're involved with or have been involved with at Lake Sumter, or any other college. If you have attended previous colleges, those probably belong in the past, but you can also think about that as well. Include, of course, what degree or certificate you are following and when you expect to finish. Same thing with present work. Many of you are not currently working. So exact same thing I just mentioned about work history. If you're not currently working, go ahead and say that, but then also talk about things that you do in your life that showcase your skills outside of the classroom. For the future section, there's not really an easy way to say it, but it's kind of like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's kind of that same feeling. Do you plan to pursue formal education beyond Lake Sumter? If so, I want you to research places that you might attend. Now, a lot of you, and I already know this because of your introductions, a lot of you already kind of know what college you want to go to, what university you want to go to. I get it. But I want you to research at least a couple. Okay, so if you're thinking about, I absolutely am going to UCF, I don't care what anybody says, pick another college. Pick one that you would find really fascinating if money weren't an object or space wasn't an object. Harvard, for example, or someplace in England. Like, just, dream big. Or look at some other programs within the state of Florida that are doing the same thing that you are interested in. One of the things that most of us don't know, especially if we're the first generation to go to college, we don't necessarily know that different schools have better reputations in certain fields than others. So for example, the veterinary school at UF, of course, is very well known and renowned. So you may want to be a veterinarian, you may want to go to that school, but what if you don't get in? So research some of the other places that have the same or similar things. And those are, of course, things that you're going to research. So those are things that you're going to need to document. We should have in-text citations that correspond with the end citations on the references page for that information. And include some photos throughout this. It's always helpful with a report to have visuals. You are going to be including visuals down the road. It's something you want to get used to now. So get some practice with that. Imagine that you have completed your education and are ready to pursue employment in your field. I want you to also research employers for which you would like to work. Now, of course, some of you may want to run your own business. So that's, of course, you can research how to go about doing that. Include locations, requirements, benefits, salary information, company goals, vision, etc. And again, even if you know, like, I'm going to be an engineer and I'm going to work for this place, research a couple more, okay? And include that in your report. Other interests, part 4. Showcase hobbies and interests, particularly those you might want to learn more about. Include the following for each. Overview, what, if any, experience you already have, and goals and plans for future participation. This is where you can dream big and you can think about things that would be interesting to research and interesting for you to write about that may or may not have anything to do with what you want to do for a living. I can't remember for sure who it was, so I'm not going to quote you. But I remember somebody talking about wanting to do something very specific for work, but then also wanting to be an author. So that's a great thing to put down under other interests. Like you may do the research on that field, the work field for the part 3 future, but in part 4, you can do some digging about how to become an author. So there's the stuff. Now, one of the things I want you to remember, and this is all from the syllabus and from the startup materials, so hopefully you caught this, but this is one of the assignments that you're going to get feedback on and a grade. And then within 1 week of getting it back, and of course, usually it takes me about a week to get them back to start with, and then you have another week after that. You will be able to make revisions based on my notes. And then if you've addressed all the issues, the grade might increase by up to 10 additional points. If you do it, if you make the changes and you polish it up and you fix everything, you will get those 10 additional points. And those will be added on to the already existing grade. Now, what happens if you already have a perfect score? Well, you probably don't have a lot of changes to make, but if you do make some changes and you let me know based on my feedback, this is what I did, you will still get a bump. So you could conceivably earn more than 100% on these revisable works. Your grade is based on this rubric, so you always want to look that over. These are the same for most of them, but you'll notice that APA format is one of the things. So you have to have the cover page, you have to have the references page and all of that stuff. That is part of that score. Use of visuals and headings for clarity, that's a score. Organization, does it make sense? Does it flow? Have you followed the 4-part directions? Development, did you do it? Is it fully developed? And of course, grammar and punctuation, always important. All right, so that is your assignment for this week. Let me show you very quickly how to get set up in Word. So I am in a Word document right now that I have not done anything to. In APA formatting, we do have a cover page. Eventually, we're also going to put in tables of contents, but we're not going to worry about that for this first one. We are going to use what are called the styles. So usually, let me maximize this and see. Yeah. Okay, so when you have it on maximum, you'll notice that there's a little box here that says normal, no spacing, heading 1, etc. There are a lot of things to choose from, and this will be what we are using to format our headings. Headings are important to do using Word's tools rather than just bolding something or making it a bigger font, because eventually when we go into tables of contents, those headings are going to help you do things automatically. Now, I don't know why on earth this is using some weird font. I have never said, please use Aptos. They did just do a refresh. Oh my gosh, I hope they haven't changed the default again. I bet they have. I don't like it. We're going to use Times New Roman 12 point because that is the academic standard. Okay. Now, when we do the headings and things, they will be different. They will look different, but we can adjust that. I'm going to keep it very simple for this one though. All right. So we are going to change the font. We are going to make sure that we are in regular double spacing. And we're going to make sure that there's no spaces before or after the paragraphs. Well, that's good news, at least. They have taken away the weird spacing. Yes, go updates. All right. So as I said, we're not going to necessarily double space everything, but that's standard for APA documents. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. We also are going to create a cover page, and typically the cover page does not start right at the very tippy top. So we're going to hit return a few times, and we're going to center our title. The title is bold in a APA document. We are not going to use this title. That's one of the few things. The cover page, I'm not going to have you use any like pre-arranged spacing. So we've got it bolded. Now, one of the things that you're going to do is you're going to give all of your works their own title. Try to avoid just calling a document the same thing as the assignment. It's hard sometimes, no, but we're going to just call it my experience. We're not going to call it experience and interest inventory on purpose. All right, unbold. We hit enter. Next line is going to be your full name. So I'm going to be Mary Sunshine today. Why not? And the line after that is English department, comma, Lake Sumter State College. The line after that is the course. And the line after that is my name. The line after that is the date. So we're going to just use today's date, which is what? I don't know, the 12th? I bet it'll tell me. There it is, January 14th. I was so close. Okay, so we're gonna just let it do it for us. Okay. So the next thing is we're going to repeat the title at the top of page 2. So I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to insert a page break. Never just hit enter to go to a new page. That is true on the reference page as well. And we're going to again bold and put in my experience, unbold, and go. All right. As I mentioned, I do want you to use headings and to practice using headings and subheadings in this document because it's something we're going to need for a lot of other things. So we're going to align left and we're going to choose heading 1. And this is part A, the past. Now notice how big this is. The presets on Word are a little bit strange for this. So we're going to go to the styles pane and we're going to say, I'm going to adjust these a little bit. So heading 1 is 20-point font. Good Lord. Okay. Let's see. Modify style. Okay. I want this to be, I'm going to leave it with all the weird color and everything, but I'm going to make it 14 instead of 20. And I'm going to change heading 2 just to be on the safe side. Same thing. We're going to go from 16 down to 12. And I don't think you'll probably have to use anything else. I think really just heading 1 and heading 2 will probably be enough. If you need more than that, you can always check in with me. But so we're going to do the past and we're going to have heading 2. And this is going to be education history. Okay. Now, I'm not going to dictate how you include this stuff. So you can write about it in paragraph form. You can make lists. You can do whatever you want to. I will say that we are eventually going to be using resume format. So if you wanted to go ahead and start doing that, you certainly can, where you have the stuff all the way across the line. You're gonna include that. I'm not gonna dictate that. We are going to then have another heading 2 that says work history. And again, if you don't have any, that's fine, but do put that and write a little blurb underneath it. One last one that is for volunteer, non-paid activities. And I like the word activities here. I don't know why I didn't use that in the thing, but so that's going to be where that goes. Now, the cool part is if you want to get this all set up in advance, you can do the same thing with the present and with the future. We don't need history. We don't need the past there. We can change those out. Let's put current education, work. There we go. Education and work and non-paid. If you have interest, although I think your interests are probably going to be in the next section, which is going to be, we're going to call this interests. And I'm not going to necessarily put any headings there. Okay, so let's say this is all set up and all you'd have to do is fill in the stuff. All right. When you are filling in the stuff, it's going to go back to regular font, although it's already taken us out of Times New Roman. Let me try something. Let's try to change everything to Times New Roman and make sure that that is still showing as a heading. Yeah. All right. I've done this and I'm going to save this document and I'm going to give it to you. So, yeah. All right. The other thing that we will need to do, I haven't put in any visuals yet. I will show you just really quickly. Let's say I want to put in a photo right here. Let me show you how to insert a photo. It'll be from a file. And I'm just going to use this. Now, one of the things that we need to do when we are putting in pictures is we do need to mark them. We also usually will need to resize them. So let's do that. And let's put in, I think it's under references. Maybe. Hmm. Okay. Insert caption. Okay, so figure one, and it's going to be, let's say this is my old workplace. It's not, it's a pencil, but we're gonna pretend from right now. And then we're going to click OK. So this is how you do it. It's super easy, but sometimes you have to dig around and find for it. If you have trouble with it, do rely on the internet. There's a lot of good videos on how to do this kind of stuff on YouTube. So this would be helpful to do if you need it. You can also do things with the picture format if you wanted to wrap the text around it. There's all kinds of fancy things you can do. I'm not that concerned, but I do want you to learn how to put the figure numbers in and all that stuff. So have Word do it for you. And then we're going to have to add our references page. So I'm going to hit insert one more time and a page break. Now in APA, we call it a references page rather than a works cited. It's going to be centered and it's going to be bold. So just like the cover page, just do this yourself. Do not rely on them to do it for you. Now, the references page is going to need to be double spaced. So we're going to change this to double. And then we will also be using what's called the hanging indent. So I'm going to move the bottom triangle only over. There we go. Oops. To the 1/2 inch mark. And let me show, oh, I don't want this to be bold. Okay, let me show you what that does. Hanging indent you should be familiar with, but that's what it will look like. Okay, so we will have our citations there at the end. I am going to save this document as a sample for ENC2210 week 2. And One final thing I did forget, we are going to have to put page numbers in. Now, the cool thing is if you did APA more than a year or so ago, APA used to have the most elaborate headers and in the history of headers, and it drove me crazy. So one of the cool things about the newer version of APA is that the only thing that goes in the header is the page number. So we go to insert, we click on page number, it goes at gonna move this. It goes at the top on the right, and we do want it on the first page, so we click OK. Now, we do have to change the font. We don't put our name next to it or anything, so it's a little bit different than MLA. In fact, it's simpler. So, good deal. All right, so this is ready for you. I'm going to save this and I'm going to put this in the announcement along with this video. When you are ready to submit your work, you click on Start Assignment and you will need to upload the file. So you're going to need to remember where you put it. Mine's in my documents. Double click that and I will click Submit Assignment. You will then get a notice that you have done it. Yay, it's submitted. Everything's cool. You're welcome to leave. Now, when you get it back, you're going to submit it in this exact same place, but I'll show you that when the time comes. All right. So that's what we're doing this week. I hope you guys have a great weekend. If you do have any questions, please do reach out. If it is a question that everybody can benefit from, don't forget about the Q&A discussion. That is available to you at all times. If it's a private question, inbox me. All right. Everybody take care. Have a great long weekend, and I will see you next week.